Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 4, text number 26. Uddhava uvacha nanu te tattva samradhya rishi kosharavunritike sakshad bhagavatadisto martyalokam chihasata. Uddhava uvacha nanu te tattva samradhya rishi kosharavunritike sakshad bhagavatadisto martyalokam chihasata. Word for word, Uddhava Vacha, Uddhava said, Nanu, however, te, of yourself, Tattva Samradhya, one who is worshipable for reception of transcendental knowledge, Rishi, learned scholar, Kosaravaha, unto the son of Kusharu, Maitreya, Antike, staying nearby, Sakshat, directly, Bhagavata, by the personality of Godhead, Adhishtaha, instructed, Martyalokam, mortal world, Jihashata, while quitting. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation. Sri Uddhava said, you may take lessons from the great learned sage Maitreya, who is nearby and who is worshipable for reception of transcendental knowledge. He was directly instructed by the personality of Godhead while he was about to quit this mortal world. Purport. Although one may be well versed in the transcendental science, one should be careful about the offense of Maryada Vyatikrama, or impertinently surpassing a greater personality. According to a scriptural injunction, one should be very careful of transgressing the law of Maryada Vyatikrama, because by so doing one loses his duration of life, his opulence, fame and piety, and all the blessings of the world. To be well versed in the transcendental science necessitates awareness of the techniques of spiritual science. Uddhava, being well aware of all these technicalities of transcendental science, advised Vidura to approach Maitreya Rishi to receive transcendental knowledge. Vidura wanted to accept Uddhava as his spiritual master, but Uddhava did not accept the post because Vidura was as old as Uddhava's father, and therefore Uddhava could not accept him as his disciple, especially when Maitreya was present nearby. The rule is that in the presence of a higher personality, one should not be very eager to impart instructions, even if one is competent and well versed. So Uddhava decided to send an elderly person like Vidura to Maitreya, another elderly person. But he was well versed also because he was directly instructed by the Lord while he was about to quit this mortal world. Since both Uddhava and Maitreya were directly instructed by the Lord, both had the authority to become the spiritual master of Vidura or anyone else. But Maitreya, being elderly, had the first claim to becoming the spiritual master, especially for Vidura, who was much older than Uddhava. One should not be eager to become a spiritual master cheaply for the sake of profit and fame, but should become a spiritual master only for the service of the Lord. The Lord never tolerates the impertinence of Maryada Vyatikrama. One should never pass over the honor due to an elderly spiritual master in the interest of one's own personal gain and fame. Impertinence on the part of the pseudo-spiritual master is very risky to progressive spiritual realization. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurvai Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we're continuing our discussion from the chapter Vidura approaches Maitreya. So, as we know, this is an interesting chapter. First we know this, before this chapter was questions by Vidura, then there was remembrance of Lord Krishna, and then the Lord's pastimes out of Vrindavan, then Vidura approaches Maitreya. So, Vidura has approached Maitreya to inquire. Well, we have come to the point where Vidura has approached Maitreya, because he's still with Uddhava, he's still talking to Uddhava, and Uddhava is telling him to speak to Maitreya for obvious reasons, which is that he is a superior realized, even though spiritually Uddhava is a very, very higher, because he's like personal associate of Lord Krishna, but Maitreya also, he's a very learned and very scholarly person, so, and he himself is instructed by Krishna, who we just hear, because he was nearby when Krishna was instructing, so he was also personally instructed directly by Krishna, so he has heard, he also has the right knowledge, he also has the bona fide knowledge that is coming from the tradition of disciplic succession, so he's part of the disciplic succession too, because he has received it from Krishna himself. And Krishna himself says that one should accept a bona fide spiritual master. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Tadvidi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya upadeshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshina. One should just approach by inquiring from a spiritual master. One should render submissively and do some service. And inquire submissively. And those who have seen the truth can impart the knowledge. Right? So that's the translation. And Maitreya has seen the truth because he has seen the absolute truth himself, Krishna. So he has seen the truth right there. So that is the truth. So he has seen the truth and he has fully realized the knowledge of transcendental science of bhakti, devotional service, which is coming from Krishna. So he is fully qualified to instruct. And the beautiful point that we learn from this purport or this text is that one should not, Prabhupada clearly mentions that one should not be eager to impart knowledge unless one has fully qualified himself and in the presence of senior devotees or senior Vaishnavas, This is something we take very seriously in our ISKCON society, because we not everyone is allowed to take sannyas anymore. You can't just get up and take sannyas and start imparting. That's why, our ISKCON society is very regulated, very strict in these things, because you can't just have any random person come and say. I remember once I met someone on books. He said, I used to like going to ISKCON, but then I stopped. I'm like, why did you stop? Because they wouldn't give me sannyas. I'm like, how long have you been practicing that you wanted sannyas? Like 40, 50 years? Like, no, I was just like 2 years or so. And I'm fully qualified now, I've read everything and I know everything, so I want sannyas. But they wouldn't give me sannyas. I'm like, well, I think that's smart. For someone practicing 2 years, not very qualified. Sometimes we take 10 years, we still don't get purified of our impurities. What to speak. Because what happens is when we're not purified of our impurities, we are going to pass on that impurities in the form of name, fame, gain to other people. This is what's going on in Kali Yuga. If you go to India, like for example, my personal example, my parents used to be very, there was a guru I wouldn't name for different reasons, but I wouldn't name the person, but they were kind of very eager, to take instructions from this so-called spiritual personality, who was a great guru in India, but what qualifications did he have? They never asked. Is he fully qualified? Is he fully learned in the science of spiritual knowledge? What is the science of spiritual knowledge? Krishna is the science of spiritual knowledge. Is someone fully learned and qualified to instruct another person? So, no, he wasn't, because I found out, because I caught him smoking cigarette. So, that doesn't look like a spiritual person. So this is the secret we should know. One cannot just randomly accept a guru. Prabhupada says a person who wants to be cheated will accept a guru who wants to cheat him. So if you want to be cheated, then go ahead. There's a gazillion gurus out there. You can accept whatever, no problem. But if you want to have the right spiritual science and the spiritual knowledge, you need the right authority. You can't buy a Mercedes by going to Audi's showroom, So if you want to buy the right car, you have to go to the right showroom. So if you want the right knowledge, you have to go find the right authority or the right source of information. So this is a very interesting concept also, how we should not be eager. Rupa Goswami has clearly mentioned, in the first text of Nectar of Instruction, Upadeshamrita. He clearly says that Vacha Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, Jiva Vedam, Udraprastha Vegam. What's the next line? Etan Veganyo Visahita Dhira Sarvam Apimam Prithvim Sashishat. Those who have controlled the senses, the eager of tongue, mind, belly, and genitals, is not supposed to take instructions, is not qualified unless one has controlled the senses. One is not qualified to be a spiritual master. So this is the movement, this is the long-term process of purification. That's why we come here to the temple, to purify our mind and senses, because years of experience in Kali Yuga activities has given us a lot of toxins, Like for example, when someone gets COVID, they just don't instantly get purified. It takes time, the medication to work, It takes a long process for the medication to work. For example, if you go to Delhi, you'll find out, how long does it take. There's many processes attached, there's a lot of tests, there's a lot of things you have to do to be purified from that disease. And we are in a disease of material attachment. That's the greatest disease of not loving Krishna, forgetting Krishna. That's the greatest disease we have. And the only way to purify from this disease is to remember Krishna. Chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Very simple process. It's not rocket science. You just chant Hare Krishna and you will be purified. For people who have chanting Hare Krishna in longer term, they can tell you. Because, for example, a new person may not have instant taste in chanting. Almost everyone I see, who's practicing 3 years, 4 years, 2 years, 1 year, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, may tell you, I don't have that taste in chanting yet, you can see sometimes. But the only reason a person is chanting, because he's feeling something, there's this little effect that Krishna gives you. And you can also see the senior devotees who has been in this chanting business for a long time, 40 years, 50 years, you can see how purified they are. That's how we advance in bhakti, by looking at elder or people who have been this spiritual consciousness for a longer time. From my personal example, I can tell you, like when I came to bhakti, I didn't think it was, something that I wanted to get up into, until I associated or spent time with some of the very senior Vaishnavas who have that taste in chanting, who have that taste in devotional service, who have the taste in bhakti. So this is what's required for us, is to associate with those senior personalities. Because what is the definition of senior? What does it mean to be a senior bhakti practitioner? You go to senior, they'll tell you I'm lower than the lowest, That's the senior requirement. There's no pride, there's no false ego, there's no attachment to me instructing and me talking, They just say, you listen from whoever, who tells about Krishna. That's how purified they are. They just want to hear stories and pastimes of Krishna. They just want to hear Krishna glorified. They don't want to hear anything else. That's what makes a person senior, So, Maitra is quite senior in age from Uddhava, So Uddhava is playing the role of, he's telling us, he could do it himself. Look, if he starts speaking about Krishna, he can go for years and years and years and he would not stop. because this is Uddhava. He's a pure devotee of Krishna, Same with Maitreya. Maitreya starts talking, he wouldn't stop, because all these are great personalities. They're not like neophyte devotees. They're like super high, extreme, high quality devotees. If they start speaking, even what to speak, Vidura who's inquiring can go days and days and years talking about Krishna, glorifying Krishna, because he's also a pure devotee. So there's a pure devotee inquiring from pure devotee, so we shouldn't take this cheaply. We shouldn't say, when we hear that Vidura is approaching Maitreya to ask, it's not that Vidura doesn't know about Krishna. He knows Krishna more than anyone else that we know of, so we shouldn't take it cheaply that why is Vidura inquiring all these questions, does Vidura not know anything about Krishna? Maybe he's not a pure devotee, because he doesn't know Krishna, right? That's why he's inquiring. But one should know, an intelligent person knows, a pure devotee, a person in the path of Bhakti Yoga knows that Vidura is also a pure devotee, and he's inquiring for our benefit. Like for example, Parikshit Maharaj, such a great soul, great pure devotee of Krishna. Krishna protected himself before he was even born. What to speak of after? Because we hear Krishna gives protection, to people who are, protection. But he wasn't even born, and still he got protection from Krishna. What to speak of getting protection when you are born, That's a sign that he's a pure devotee right away, because he comes from a family of pure devotees. So, but yeah, and Shukadev Goswami was instructed. Doesn't mean that Parikshit Maharaj is a small-time devotee. That he's inquiring from a great senior devotee doesn't mean that a person is a smaller devotee. So we shouldn't take it cheaply when we hear these conversations, when we hear these pastimes. We should relish these pastimes as a learning experience for us. That even great devotees have inquired, because knowledge is unlimited. Krishna's knowledge is unlimited. And for someone who is in the path of Bhakti Yoga, who's in path of Krishna consciousness, all he wants to do is hear about Krishna. That's why we hear, Hearing is one of the pillars of bhakti. Without hearing, there is no listening. What the difference between hearing and listening? Anyone knows? You can hear things, but you may not listen it. So just the words coming in the ears doesn't mean you're listening. It means if you need to listen, you need to pay your mind and your intelligence and focus all your attention. That's when someone is listening, to you. Imagine if I'm looking at you, and you're speaking to me, but I am distracted in some other world, some other universe, which we most of the time are distracted. That doesn't mean we are listening, we are paying attention, So we should try, because this is a process. In Kali Yuga, the lifespan is less than 7 seconds for a human being to pay attention. Less than a goldfish. So, this is the symptoms of Kali. The knowledge, the remembrance, the memory is not very good. So it takes time for us to purify from these not so great activities. Like for example, when Lord Chaitanya was associating with Ramananda Roy, and Ramananda Roy, Lord Chaitanya was inquiring from Lord Chaitanya was inquiring from Ramananda Roy the glories of Krishna. He wants to know more about Krishna. And Ramananda Roy knew he's Supreme Personality of Godhead, but if he's asking, it's my service to do it. If Krishna asks you something, you do it. You don't question. Like if your authority asks you to do something, you do it. You do it right away. You don't question. Why is he doing that? So Krishna himself is asking in form of Lord Chaitanya. He's asking to Ramananda Roy, glorify Krishna. And then Ramananda Roy starts speaking. But he goes from like one level to another, right? When you drive a car, you don't just go straight to the 5th gear, right? You start from the 1st gear and slowly build up to the 5th gear. So if you want to enjoy Krishna's pastimes, you should read this pastime of Ramananda Roy and Lord Chaitanya, how he is describing pastimes. He goes from one level, and what does Lord Chaitanya saying? First he says talks about jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, and other things, And the Lord says, yeah, that's all right. I think you can do better. You can do better. So then he goes a little step ahead, comes to bhakti yoga, and then Lord Chaitanya like, yeah, this is good, but there's something even better that you're hiding. I want to know more about this. So he goes higher, talks about glories of devotional service. Then he's hearing glories of devotional service, and he's saying there's something better. Then he's going even higher, talking about the different rasas Krishna share with his devotees. And this is even deeper. Then they go more deeper than spirit about Srimati Radharani, So all these, there's different levels how one can glorify Krishna. So we should start from the process, right? We shouldn't jump the gun. In India, if you go, Prabhupada said there's like everyone's trying to talk about Rasa Leela and all these intimate pastimes of Radha and Krishna. If you go to India, you're like, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe. This is all about Radhe. And what do we know anything about the pastimes or the intimate level that Krishna has with Radharani? No, we may not. So one shouldn't take these intimate pastimes very cheaply. If you go, I meet a lot of Indian people and they question me, they say, like for example, my own brother, sometimes say, Krishna had 16,000 wives, what kind of person he is, if he's the follower, he's telling us to follow the Shastra, why is he himself not following the Shastra? All these questions, because we don't have faith in Krishna, we don't know the position of Krishna. Mostly because we are envious of Krishna. That's why we are here in the first place. So envy is easy to come. We shouldn't see Krishna's pastimes and see why I don't have this. Because Krishna is fully transcendental. If you want to have it, first try to be transcendental. First trying to see what Krishna really is, as it is. Rather than speculating and making your own statements and judgments. So yes, this is a very interesting concept of bhakti. It's very simple. There is a very easy process given by Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya. All you have to do is attend morning program, chant Hare Krishna, use 16 rounds, prescribed number of rounds. One big question, why am I chanting 16 rounds? I have been chanting for so long, moving my fingers here and there, but hasn't really done much to me. I'm still very much attached to the material state of consciousness. Still there are a lot of attachments. Yes, there are a lot of attachments. That's why we chant more. That's why we are engaged in this chanting process to purify. Like anyone done cleaning? Prabhu cleaner? Prabhu knows cleaning takes a lot of efforts. If a pot is very dirty, if a mirror is very dirty, how long does it take to clean the mirror? Quite a long time. If something is very dirty, it takes a longer efforts also, scrubbing. It's not going, this dirt is not going. And a person can just give up. He's like, this pot is beyond cleaning. I cannot clean this pot, so I'm just going to go to another pot, So that doesn't work. A sincere person does not give up on cleaning that pot. Similarly, a sincere devotee does not give up on cleaning the process, cleaning the heart. This is Chaito Darpan Marjana, the heart cleaning process by chanting Hare Krishna. So we should try to remember to engage fully our mind and senses in chanting Hare Krishna, because slowly and steadily we'll be able to build up. So if you have your basics right, you can be advanced devotee. You know what I mean? Like if you have your basics sorted, like for example, when a house is constructed, most of the resources and most of the efforts are going into the foundation while constructing a house. So similarly, our foundation is on the basics, to get the basics right of chanting Hare Krishna regularly, prescribed number of rounds, and reading and hearing about Krishna. Those are the basics. If we don't get those right, how are we ever going to make advancement? There's no advancement if we don't get the basics right. So we should engage our time, our consciousness, our energy in similar way. Krishna doesn't force, and like Krishna is not forcibly telling you should chant, just chant Hare Krishna. But it's your call. If you want to chant, if you want to experience something beautiful, something different than just the material aspect of life, you should give it a try. All we are asking people, when we go out on streets, give them Sankirtan books, when we tell them about Krishna, all we are asking is to give it a try. Lord Chaitanya is pushing everyone. If you hear Lord Chaitanya's pastime, he's not thinking who is Brahmana, who is Shudra, who is Kshatriya, who is a scholarly person, who is not a scholarly person. There's no discrimination. Lord Chaitanya is not discriminating anyone. Just chant Hare Krishna, forget everything else. Whatever your state is, whoever you are, a Hindu, Muslim, Christian, I don't care. Whoever you are, a spiritually high, elevated Brahmana or a Shudra who's a meat eater, it doesn't matter. Just chant Hare Krishna. For everyone, the goal is the same. Yeah? For everyone, it's the same. Is to attain Prema Bhakti, Krishna Prema. Same goal for everyone. Doesn't matter. It's actually more difficult if you're a scholarly Brahmana to attain Krishna Prema than a Shudra who doesn't know anything about Krishna. There's like many beautiful pastimes we hear. Someone was reading Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Gita like this, upside down, trying to understand what is, and everyone's just making fun. What is he doing? He just got book upside down and trying to understand the Shastra. What is he reading? How can you read book upside down? Because he doesn't know how to read, but he's still trying to read Bhagavad Gita upside down. So when Lord Chaitanya, everyone was saying, look at this guy. What is he doing? He's got Bhagavad Gita upside down, doesn't even know how to read. What is he going to do? Why is he doing that? But when Lord Chaitanya saw this, he went in ecstasy. Because he didn't see, Lord Krishna didn't see, or Lord Chaitanya didn't see the material side that everyone else was seeing. He saw the spiritual side inside his heart. That even though he doesn't know how to read, because of the instruction of a spiritual master, he's trying to read sincerely Bhagavad Gita. So that's what's important. There's only one requirement. One of my great teachers, one of our great leaders in ISKCON movement, Navinandarada Prabhu, is a great Sankirtan devotee. He says, there's only one thing that's needed to be Krishna conscious. Only one thing. That's sincerity. If you lack sincerity, you should associate with people who have sincerity. Because without sincerity, there is no advancement in anything, Just not just Krishna consciousness. Even if you want to succeed in your IT business, you need sincerity. Unless without sincerity, there is no achievement, there is no advancement. And where does the word sincerity come from? The word sincerity comes from sincerus, which means when a mason would construct his artwork, his design, there would be holes, there would be left, and they have to cover up those holes and discrepancies. But for a sincere mason, there is no discrepancies. He doesn't have to cover up his art. He doesn't have to cover up his work. It'll be flawless for a sincere mason. So we should know this. We shouldn't try to cover up our discrepancies by making excuses. So many excuses we make. If we start naming excuses, we can, just like Vidura and Metta are talking about Krishna for days, in Kali Yuga, we can talk about excuses for days. Every situation has a million excuses, why we can't do this. So we shouldn't focus on the excuses. We should go beyond that and associate with sincere people so we can get a little drop of sincerity. When we come in front of Krishna, we should pray Krishna sincerely to give us sincerity. Amazing, eh? We should sincerely pray to Krishna to give us more sincerity. Yeah, that's an awesome thing to do. So we should try to do a little, as much as we can, because we have many other requirements also. But remember to put Krishna in the center of every activity. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, the best thing you can give to me is yourself. Surrender fully unto me. That's the best thing you can do. But if you can't do this, then you do this. If you can't do this, then you just give me time, money, whatever. Then he states very clearly. In which chapter does Krishna say that? 12th chapter. So, devotional service title. So, we should try to read Bhagavad Gita. If anyone doesn't have Bhagavad Gita, I would highly recommend to get a copy, give it a read. Many things may not make sense in the beginning, but it will come. if you are sincere, Krishna will reveal. Because Krishna says that those who lack, I provide. So if you're lacking sincerity, Krishna will provide too. So just be a little sincerity. Like there's a beautiful song by, I think it's by Narottam Das Thakur, but I'm not sure. He says that Lord Nitai or Lord Nityananda is so merciful. He's selling Krishna Prem in a marketplace, Surabhi marketplace, Surabhi Kunj. He's selling. So what is he charging? What is he charging? He's not charging you $1 million. He's not charging you even 1 rupee. All he's charging you is a little faith in the process and in Krishna. That's all he's charging you. So if you show a little faith, he's giving you full version of Krishna Prem without any questions asked. He's not discriminating what class or what background or what color or what religion you practice. He's just giving, take, and just become ecstatic in your whole life. So this is the movement that we are in. And it's coming to this place is not just by chance. It's not just by chance I'm here. I don't know why I'm here. It's all Krishna's arrangement. We may have had a little sincerity. That Krishna has put us in the right path of disciplic succession. Otherwise, in Kali Yuga, it's easy to get misplaced. It's easy to get lost with the amount of knowledge. There's so much speculative knowledge in Kali Yuga. Almost everything is speculative in Kali Yuga. So finding the right source and authority is a very big privilege. It's a very big, what's the word I'm looking for? It's an honor. It's an honor to be a part of such movement. We shouldn't take it lightly. That's what I've been meditating upon recently, that sometimes, living in the temple or coming to the temple, being very friendly to the devotees, all these things sometimes we can take for granted, We can Gopinath's there, well, he's always going to be here. I may not go see him today, I may go tomorrow, may go day after tomorrow, he'll still be there. He will still be here, but we may not be here. So this is what we should remember, the point. Coming to temple, seeing Gopinath is not for the pleasure of Gopinath, it's for us to purify by seeing him. And of course he gets pleasure too by seeing his devotees, seeing anyone, everyone is Gopinath's anyway. So Gopinaths get very ecstatic when he sees someone make a little effort to come to Krishna, come to him. So when we take 1 step to Krishna, Krishna will take 10 steps towards us. That's what we should remember. One shouldn't just think, oh, maybe, like in India, back at the day when I was young, my parents would say, oh, we'll go, when Krishna calls us, we'll go to Vrindavan. Yeah? Anyone ever used that line? Or anyone's family ever used that line to them? Yeah? Oh, we'll go to Vrindavan, jab Bhagwan bulayega tab jayenge. When Krishna calls us, we'll go. That's quite a common statement you'll hear in India. But that's not how it works, Krishna has given you a full opportunity. He's given you 2 legs. He's given you 2 hands. He's given you 2 ears. He's given you fully. So you can engage them in service of Krishna. So one shouldn't think like that, oh, when Krishna will call, when I hear the calling, then I will go. Instead one should just go. Then the calling will come. Unless you go, how will the calling come? You say, oh no, I won't speak to this prabhu, Oh, when time comes, he will speak to me. That's not how you're going to communicate with anyone. You're probably going to end up alone if you start thinking like that. So for a person to advance, if he wants to make friends, he has to go out there and speak to people, right? If you want to make friends. So if you want to make Krishna your friend, you should go to Krishna and ask, I want to be your friend. And then Krishna will definitely be your friend because you have made a little sincere effort. So this is something interesting that I've been meditating upon. I'd like to share. Thank you all for your kind patience and tolerance. So is there any questions, comments, or corrections we will take now? Almost time's up. All right. full India. Gantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi.
Opa.